Chipped ham and football. That's what Pittsburgh does. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the show. Brian Batko back with you after a week of vacation. I think Adam Bittner held it down for me in my absence, and I'll be gone again next week, but poking our head up for an episode while I'm on the clock. And pleased to be joined today by Donny Chedrick of 93.7 The Fan, better known as Donny Football. What's going on, Donny?
Nothing much, Brian. I appreciate you having me. I'm very fond of your work, so I was honored when you reached out about this.
And we just chatted last night on your show over the radio airwaves. So pleased to have you on one of the PG podcasts here as well. And this one, as always, brought to you by Pella. No better place to get new windows and doors installed in your home than Pella, who can help you save on energy costs year round. Schedule a free in-home consultation with your local Pella windows and doors to find that right product for your home and your budget. Give them a call at 866-593-1560 to discuss that project further. That's 866-593-1560 to get started planning on your new windows and doors installation with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. And Donny, before we get into any football, did you get your run in today? I know you've got a big goal to hit by the end of this month. Are you making progress already here on July 2nd?
Yeah, 3.5 miles yesterday, 3 more miles today. I also like to get in a little cool down ride on the Peloton once I get home. So yeah, I mean, we're off to a pretty good start here in July.
Was this road running or were you at a local school or something like that?
Yeah, I normally try to hit up like a track, like something easy. I'm not too far from Brentwood High School. I have a buddy who's back home for about a week. He's been living out in Charlotte, but we hit up Keystone Oaks today, the land of Harry Callis. So, that was a nice little run that we got in. I normally try to save the weekends for, I don't know if you'd call them trail runs. I'm not like running through the woods, but go down to South Side and hit up that long trail down there, maybe on like a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, Keystone Oaks, also the home of Ray Fittipaldo, who is on vacation this week from the
and Dennis Miller.
yeah, a lot of legends have come out of Keystone Oaks. So, I mean, I don't really run much anymore now with kids. I try to get my cardio via pickup basketball on the weekends, sometimes with our pal Andrew Filipponi. But yeah, the streets around my house are steep. A 1 mile run can feel like quite the undertaking even. So props to you, Donny. But what we're going to do today on the show to talk Steelers, let's be honest, it's July. There's really nothing going on. We need a gimmick. We need a gimmick to keep these shows entertaining, to give people some food for thought, keep their listening routines. If we're part of it, thank you. We appreciate it. So we want to stay in it. We're going to do a draft. It's July draft. It's really the season for talking NFL via things like this. Carter and I did the power rankings on Monday's North Shore Drive. So here today, Donny, you and I will do a draft. And my vision for this is let's draft our Steelers breakout candidates for the 2024 season. We'll each do maybe 5 if we have time, maybe 6, because I feel like that 6th would really get us reaching for some under the radar options. That's where it might get actually kind of fun to bandy about, because some of the other ones will be, I think, fairly obvious. But as we get this started, Donny, would you like first or next? Would you like first pick or the next 2?
I guess I'll go with the first pick on this.
Okay. Now, and here's the way I would frame this. Breakout player, I feel like most people tend to think, all right, a year 2 or 3 guy who maybe hasn't done much or hasn't started to this point. I feel like it could be a rookie if you feel like somebody's really going to come out like gangbusters and hit the ground running. If you want to convince me that TJ Watt is your breakout player of 2024 for the Steelers because he's going to average 2 sacks a game.
Yeah, he hasn't done a whole lot yet in his career.
But if he's going to go out and have the single best defensive season in NFL history or something like that, and that's your logic, I'll give you that option. But otherwise, I feel like we're probably going to be more standard with these choices. So, Donny, go ahead and lead us off.
So I think that this will be a common pick for a lot of people when it comes to picking the top breakout candidate for the Steelers, just based on what this guy did last year as a rookie. Keeanu Benton is where I'm going to first here, Brian. This guy is the future of the Steelers defensive line. who knows really how much longer you have somebody like Larry Ogunjobi, two younger guys like Loudermilk and Liao. They are more on their way out than they are on their way in. Cam Hayward, I mean, he's 15 years in the league. He's getting quite long in the tooth. I know he wants an extension, but he's not exactly the future of this defensive front. What we saw last year from Benton, I think, has reason to make everybody excited about what you could see in year two. This guy seems like a hell of an athlete for someone of his stature. And I think that for the next, hopefully, decade, he's somebody that anchors the trenches on the defensive side. So I'm going to go with him with the first pick here.
Yeah, definitely a trendy one because of the flashes we saw as a rookie and because he's probably going to be in for a much larger role, which is sort of funny because I think when he was drafted, he was almost kind of like the forgotten man a little bit between Broderick Jones as a first rounder, Joey Porter Jr. Benton was, I think, viewed as a good pick, but even Darnell Washington was kind of getting a lot more hype as that third round steal at tight end. But yeah, I can't disagree with you there, Donnie, at all. Keeanu Benton, great number one off the board. I'm going to, kind of like I alluded to at the top here, bend the parameters a little bit for breakout guys. And with my 2 and 3 picks here, my tandem, I'm going to take a couple of Nittany Lions who have been good in the NFL, but I think they just have another level they can reach, and I think they will reach it. So Joey Porter Jr. will be my first, as much as we all liked what we saw from him as a rookie. 1 interception, I think he can build off that. He didn't start the full season, and I think getting the opportunity to build on what he proved to Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin, that, yeah, he can lock up guys one-on-one, give him that assignment of taking the opposing team's best receiver, and let him follow that guy around. Let him shadow. Don't anchor him to one side of the field. I think that'll allow him to be even better and maybe even have a Pro Bowl type of season, with those advanced metrics, even if he's not picking off a bunch of passes because quarterbacks aren't looking his way. I think we have a more sophisticated, fan following of the NFL now that people will notice that and give him his due. And then I'm going to go Pat Freiermuth because as good as he's been to this point in his career and reliable and productive, it's kind of easy to forget he's never had 800 yards in a season. He did have those 7 touchdown catches as a rookie, but only 4 over the last 2 years combined. So I think this is a season that Freiermuth becomes, an even more integral part of the offense and combines that touchdown making with more receptions, more yardage than he's had to this point in his career, and basically will be the de facto number 2 receiver for this team. And if it's an extension that comes his way before the season starts, I think he'll have the type of year that makes the Steelers look pretty smart for doing it.
I like the Freiermuth pick, Brian, and I know that you have been saying for a while you expect an extension to come along before we get into the season. I mean, and you have to think with improved quarterback play for one, and also an improved mind at offensive coordinator, he has to see an uptick in what he has done. I love the Joey Porter Jr. pick, and hopefully that comes true because I think we are, or not, maybe not we, but I think a lot of people aren't considering that the secondary is a little bit of a weakness with this team. I think we are over projecting for the most part what some of these guys will do. A lot of people counting on Dante Jackson to be a good player. A lot of people seem to have no issue with Cam Sutton's off the field antics and think that he'll just come back and be what he was a few years ago. I'm not completely sold on that. Plus, we don't know how much he will play.
Right.
We are expecting the NFL to hand down some sort of suspension. PZ Jr. has to take over as the undeniable number 1 corner. He has to put players on an island entering his second year. Might be a tall task for somebody in his spot, but I think he's up for it. I definitely think he has the potential for it too. So he would have been absolutely my next pick if you didn't go there with pick number 2. So I love the Joey Porter Jr. one. So
biggest risk factor for me was just Freiermuth staying healthy, of course, for him to kind of have the type of season I projected. But yeah, all right. So now you'll get 4, and now we'll just go straight up snake back and forth order.
Okay, so I'm hesitant to pick this guy because I think we have been hoping for his first couple of seasons he would be a breakout star. He ends up doing something or two things in August in training camp or in the preseason that gets us really excited, and then he mostly disappears once we hit the regular season. He maybe makes a play or two like he did last season, and we are just waiting and waiting for this guy to show what he's all about. I feel like since he got drafted, Brian, since we saw that 40 time, Calvin Austin III has been somebody we have been waiting for to break out. I don't know what a breakout season necessarily would look like for him because he doesn't have much to show for his career to this point. He did not play as a rookie due to an injury. And last year he had the long touchdown in Vegas. That was one of the best plays of Kenny Pickett's career as well. He had the touchdown late in the season on the jet sweep against Cincinnati. So I don't think he has to put up astronomical numbers or anything. He's looking like a 3 or 4 receiver at best, but I think we got to see more out of this guy. We got to see something out of this guy because sooner or later it'll be getting late early for Calvin Austin III. So I think we got to get a breakout of some type in year 3 for him.
Yeah, he's another one who's been generating a lot of buzz, and I did think he looked good in OTAs and in minicamp. But I mean, that's always going to be a setting where somebody with Calvin Austin's speed, like you mentioned, and shiftiness is going to shine for the most part. But I know he's working hard. He has worked hard since that lost rookie year, and it's just a shame that that's how his NFL career began. But we also knew when they drafted him that staying healthy at 5'8" or 5'9", whatever he's officially listed at, and maybe 170 is going to be a bit of a tall task. So yes, you hope that Arthur Smith will maybe have some more in store for him. You hope that Calvin Austin himself can kind of carve out a role more so than he did last year when Deontay Johnson was injured, and more consistency. He's got more opportunity now to do so than he ever did his first 2 seasons because of the state of the receiver room. I'm going to go with another veteran here, somebody who's not a second or third year guy or anything, but someone who hasn't had a huge, statistical season yet in his career, but the Steelers signed him to be a starter in their secondary, DeShon Elliott. And I think he's an under the radar signing for them this year. I feel like he could give them their best strong safety play since if you were a big Mike Mitchell fan, Mike Mitchell more of a free safety, but he'll give them that best kind of second safety that they've had in a while. Terrell Edmonds had his moments. He got better, but never really was a guy that you felt like was a huge plus. I think Elliott can be a plus. He's got 1 interception each of his past 3 seasons with the Ravens, Lions, and then Dolphins last year. I think he can get 2 or 3 playing alongside Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I just think he'll be an every down, snap in and snap out factor for a defense. And if he does have that type of year, then he'll elevate the back end in the overall unit.
Yeah, when it comes to Terrell Edmonds, who you mentioned, it was no secret that his best ability was his availability. He had a innate ability to stay healthy, to his credit. That's what kept him in town for so long. He was always a guy that I kind of felt bad for because he was vastly overdrafted by the team. So it's hard for me to view him as a bust in the sense that maybe Devin Bush or Kenny Pickett would fall under, because not really his fault that he was drafted about 2 rounds too early. But I think Elliott is an underrated signing that they made this offseason. It kind of came on the heels of the exciting week that included Russell Wilson, that included Patrick Queen. So that one really, I felt, fell under the radar. But if he can provide a very nice complement to Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think at least on the back end in a secondary that I just said I'm worried about, that would shore things up a little bit for me.
Right. Who you got next, Donny?
I'm going to go. I don't know if this is low-hanging fruit. It's a guy entering his second year, so another young guy. Let Broderick Jones take left tackle and run with it and maybe become, I don't know about a top 10 tackle in the game in his second year, but let him become the tackle that you were hoping he would, and the guy that can lead you into the future at that position. It's no secret the Steelers have never had a big emphasis on the left tackle position, at least over the course of my life. They've never really had a star player there. They've kind of just had guys over there that were good or solid players. You think of Marvell Smith in the past. You think of Max Starks, Alejandro Villanueva, which was a great story at the time, turning him into a Pro Bowl tackle, and a lot of credit there goes to Mike Munchak. This is the first time that they've really addressed the position in a big way in the draft since I've been alive, and now they've done it 2 years in a row when you consider them drafting Troy Fautanu. But I think Broderick Jones is ready to take off as one of the better tackles in the game. He's ready to show what he's all about. I think we will see this year the guy that will lead the Steelers' offensive line into the next decade. I think that their offensive line getting maybe a little bit of unnecessary praise as of late. We talked about that recently with the Pro Football Focus rankings. But Jones is going to be a big part in that if they do reach that caliber of play. So I'll go with Broderick Jones as my next pick.
Yeah, I feel like it's always inherently kind of tricky to pick a lineman as an O lineman as a breakout guy but hey, if he's out there pancaking dudes left and right and putting up a highlight reel at left tackle, then that will be an obvious choice there for a jump up. I'm going to go with another second-year guy, and man, it speaks to the drafting that the Steelers have done under Omar Khan, that we're picking so many of these young players. I feel like that hasn't always been the case in recent years, but I'll go with someone who's probably going to have a lot of good one-on-one matchups with Broderick Jones in training camp, whether it's in full team drills or one-on-ones, and that would be outside linebacker Nick Herbig, who we know he was kind of the pseudo fourth guy a year ago behind Marcus Golden. Now he's going to bump up into that all-important number 3 role. We know that injuries are going to happen at some point. Hopefully they're just minor for TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, but 3 sacks last year for Herbig. I think with more snaps, he will be even more productive than that and just more efficient when he's on the field.
I'm very happy with what I saw Herbig do last year. I mean, we went through years with guys like Derek Tuska and Cassius Marsh.
Taco Charlton.
When he wasn't doing karate on the field. And Nick Herbig, I thought, stepped up in a very big way last year. I liked Marcus Golden a lot, too. I thought that would be a wise re-signing that the Steelers could have done. They did not go that route, but I mean, there's still some time left before the season begins. It could be a late add, I guess, once we get into August or closer to September. So a little bit more on the plate for Nick Herbig, but what he showed last year in pretty limited snaps, I was impressed with. I mean, he made the biggest defensive play in the Week 17 game against the Seahawks. He made a game that potentially saved their season. So I like that pick a lot there, Brian. I'm going to go with another young dude here. I feel like it's hard to go with a veteran that's been around for too long because, like you said with TJ Watt, like some guys, they've already set the bar so high.
Right.
But I think a lot of people are counting on seeing more from Darnell Washington his second year in the league. Again, new offense, Arthur Smith, a much better mind than what they were dealing with the Matt Canada experience last year. Try to find ways to get this dude the football, not necessarily in space. He's not going to be someone that just runs away from defenders. But once they get into the red zone, I feel like this dude has to be on the field. We know what the stats were for Russell Wilson and Justin Fields last year as red zone quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, arguably the best red zone passer in all of football. Justin Fields was pretty good too. You got to get big targets on the field when you have it shrink on you. You have George Pickens already. Pat Freiermuth is a very nice size target. You're not going to get much bigger than Darnell Washington. Okay, the man looks like a human tree. He is almost 7 feet tall, not quite, but I mean 6'8". He is a large human being. And I think even if the receptions and the yardage isn't up there, he's got to be somebody that gets a lot of looks for me once you get inside the 20 or 10 yard line.
Yeah, and that's really all it would take for a breakout for Washington with how little he was involved last year in the passing game. as a rookie. All right, with my fifth, I'll take another guy out of the secondary. This is more of a long shot, but I'll say Darius Rush. They grabbed him last year off of waivers and threw him out there once or twice. He probably wasn't quite ready for the moment. And, this would probably be contingent upon Dante Jackson faltering at outside corner for Rush to get out there. But I do think they like him. I did think he, made some plays in OTAs and in minicamp for whatever that's worth. So we're getting kind of closer to the bottom of the barrel here. But I like the talent. I like the potential for opportunity for Rush. And I think he's somebody who's got a better chance of breaking out than, say, Corey Trice.
Yeah, Trice, I think he's a nice story. I'm certainly rooting for the guy to do well. He's got great size, but I do have the fear that maybe expectations for a 7th-round pick that is injury-riddled are a little bit too high. And I think it's unfair to him because we really have no idea what to get out of this guy besides one day. Was it day one of camp last year, Brian, that he went down?
It wasn't day one, but it was very early on. It might have been first day in pads.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. So first day in pads, and we saw Corey Trice go down, so you didn't really get to have his story told. And I feel like Darius Rush, along with somebody like Trenton Thompson, who I actually thought was a sneaky solid player at the end of the season for the Steelers in that secondary. You don't really think about it going into the season, but the amount of players that end up getting used, and sometimes guys that get picked up right off the street that get used in big moments and high leverage situations down the stretch of the season. Somebody like Darius Rush working out, that's a huge positive. Now, I know it's not quite the same position. I know some people are still trying to chase what we got out of Mike Hilton as an undrafted guy years ago. Hilton has turned out a very good career for an undrafted player. I just think we got to pump the brakes on, anybody, jumping up to that level. Now Hilton played a different type of game though, too. He's very good against the run. He's not so great in the coverage game.
All right. Who do you want to close out with your last pick here, Donnie?
Oh, this one a little bit tough for me because I don't want to take this guy. I don't see him as a breakout player. I feel like it's a little bit of cheating if I do go with this guy. So I'm really trying to avoid wanting to pick somebody like George Pickens because he has multiple 1,000-yard seasons already under his belt. But you see the list that get put out there where he's not a top 20 or top 25 receiver. I mentioned it last week on one of the evening shows, and there were so many people that were quick to reply to me and said, well, this guy hasn't done anything, so he shouldn't be in the top 20 or top 25. Like, what has he done? I had a guy call in and say, besides one circus catch, what has George Pickens done? I don't know what the hell that guy's watching. He's a little bit more than one circus catch in his career, but maybe a little bit of cheating on my end to go with George Pickens in this spot. As you said, things get a little bit slim once you try to find your final pick. I just feel like if people aren't satisfied with what they saw the first 2 years of this guy in the Steelers offense, given how bad the quarterback and coordinator situation was, he's got to have a breakout too. Like we got to be thinking it's 1,200 yards or 1,400 yards, maybe even 1,500 yards for George Pickens and double-digit touchdowns because the back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in an absolute disastrous offense apparently wasn't good enough for some people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like if you make a pick like that, it's sort of, hey, I think he's not just going to break out, but he's going to be, one of the best receivers in the league at this point. So I've now got the teams, our drafts sliding across the bottom there. You went with Keeanu Benton, Calvin Austin, Broderick Jones, Darnell Washington, and George Pickens. I went with Joey Porter Jr., Pat Freiermuth, DeShon Elliott, Nick Herbig, and Darius Rush. This was fun, Donnie. I think we covered a lot of bases. We reframed some of these players who we've been talking about ad nauseum since March, April, May. Is there anybody that you think we snubbed or left off here before we head out?
I actually had thoughts of naming Justin Fields as that final pick to my team, but I don't know how much we will see him. Because I for one, I think Russell Wilson will be just fine. I think he will do, or he will have a productive enough year to where we see Justin Fields out there. I don't know what kind of packages they'll have for him, what kind of things they'll work him into the offense with. But I don't think Russell Wilson is going to be so bad to where he loses his job. And I still feel a little bit guilty about taking Pickens with my final pick because I feel like, this guy already a pretty good player. Basically what I'm saying here, he has to become a star with me putting him as my final pick on this team. Like, he has to be catapulted into like the top dozen conversation when it comes to receivers after this season. So I have very high hopes for what we can get out of him. And hey, Russell Wilson, best part of his game is the deep ball. Best part of George Pickens' game is the deep ball. So hopefully that works out in my favor.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold it against you because I think if you look at it from breakout potential perspectives, it's like, what's more likely? Keeanu Benton gets 6 sacks or George Pickens gets 1,800 yards receiving. So yeah, that's, I think, very, very understandable in a reasonable way to look at all of this. So, Donny, thanks so much, man. Do you want to plug anything or tell any of our viewers where they can hear more of you?
Yeah, 93.7 The Fan. If you are a listener to that station, you can hear me sometimes sparingly from 2 to 6, producing for Andrew Filipponi and Chris Muller, and then various nights throughout the week. I am normally on from 6 to 10:30 or so. Sometimes the show is a little bit shorter. Sometimes it's even a little bit longer. But yeah, there are times where you can hear way too much of me throughout the week on 93.7 The Fan. Twitter is at DonChed54 if you want to give that a follow and check out what I have going on over there.
Well, on behalf of Donny Chedrick, Donny Football, it's been a pleasure to share the show with you today, my friend, and glad we were able to get through another July show while we're both working and trying to give the people what they want. So they can agree or disagree with our picks down below in the comments or tweet at either one of us. I'm Brian Batko. Thanks as always for checking us out here on Chipped Ham and Football from the Post-Gazette Podcast Network. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy the 4th of July. Eat some burgers, eat some dogs. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.